Tim, I am now going to start with the portion of the video series we call our rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Bring it on.
All right, so first question, when did you know you wanted to be a lawyer?
I would say probably maybe complicated answer. I mean, when I was a kid, I always liked things that lawyers did.
Right.
I never thought I'd really actually want to be a lawyer. And then it really wasn't until college when I decided, you know what, I kind of like this stuff.
Do you have a favorite attorney or group of attorneys to litigate against?
Oh, yeah. I like litigating against any type of lawyer who is good, is smart, who makes me work really hard, but is more than happy to provide an extension of time when needed. Someone who you can get along with. And the great thing about the class action bar is the lawyers tend to be really good lawyers, and more often than not, the defense lawyers are pretty good, and I like working against them.
But if you had a gun to your head and you had to name a name, you would name...
Oh, well, you pick somebody like a John Hooper from Reed Smith. He's a dream to work with. Maybe not a dream. That's a little too strong. He can be very difficult to work with, but it's always a pleasure to work with him because he comes at it honestly.
What's your favorite movie? Legal, non-legal, period. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, you know what? To Kill a Mockingbird. There you go. That covers it all. I think that's a fantastic movie.
Do you have any book that you've gifted more than other books in your life?
I like to, my son is an avid reader, so I'm always giving him books, but I like to give different books sort of what depending on what kind of mood I'm in.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where I like to give a book that I've either read or would like to read. And so it varies. It can be fiction, nonfiction, politics.
What's
science.
the last book you gifted?
Oh my, gave my son probably half a dozen books at Christmas time. A whole bunch of them, some William Faulkner books.
What do you think the biggest growth area in class action law generally is?
Well, that's always the big question. Employment cases still remain the 800-pound gorilla. I mean, most of the cases that get filed are employment or employment-related cases. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more financial fraud cases again, with both deregulation and now that we're getting a little bit of distance from the recession. We're already seeing that banks and other financial institutions are doing exactly what they were doing before. That will blow up. They will get too carried away, like Wells Fargo did recently, and then lawsuits will follow.
Which case is worst for the plaintiff's bar? Carrera, Concepcion, Dukes, or Spokio?
I think Spokio is a good case for the plaintiff's bar because it provides, in a very narrow sense, some flexibility about what venue to file in. We used to have that has all been taken away, and Spokio gives a little bit of a sliver. So I'm not afraid of Spokio at all. I mostly just want to be, find the right court system and let me go there, and I'll go and do my thing. Dukes, I think, for certain types of class actions, Dukes has been an absolute disaster. For other types, like consumer cases, I think it's actually been very helpful because the language that's used helps focus the court in analyzing correctly whether a case should be certified or not. Carrera is just creates a mess. I mean, it just creates an absolute mess. Are there workarounds? Absolutely. Does it require the class to be narrowed? I don't know, maybe, maybe not. It depends on the situation. But it costs a lot of money. It brings in third-party retailers. So there's a lot more litigation. And then at the end of the day, you pretty much end up with the same thing. I think the silver lining with something like Carrera is it's forced the plaintiff's bar to really do a deep dive into big data. And what we found is there is a tremendous amount of information that is very helpful to the class that we can now tap into. And that information is available whether you're in the Third Circuit with Carrera or not. Sure. So I guess I'm kind of an optimist. So I think every case ends up having some sort of silver lining. And our task as plaintiffs' lawyers is to find that silver lining.
Yeah, I think your answer was the definition of optimism, and it was kind of refreshing. I mean, usually people come out here and they say, it's Carrera, it closes the courthouse door, it's Carrera. But to hear your take on each individual case was great.
And Carrera, absolutely, for some people it closes the courthouse door. I mean, Carrera is a decision that for some parts of the class, depending, or all classes, the entire class, depending on the type of case, it does deny people justice. It does deny people their access to the court system for absolutely no valid reason other than a weird technical reason that has nothing to do with Rule 23. But by and large, there are workarounds with Carrera.
Do you have a particular legal nonprofit that's near and dear to your heart?
I think Consumer Watchdog is an excellent organization that does very, very good work with very few resources. They're a very efficient organization. Certainly a favorite of the plaintiff's bar. Public Justice does a great job as well. But I would say those two are really great organizations that are worthy of our giving.
Great organizations for sure. Would you advise the next generation to go to and attend law school and to become lawyers?
Absolutely. I think practicing law is a great thing. It's a fantastic profession. Like any other profession, it has its days that are less great. But I think if you keep the ideals of what the legal system is supposed to be about, and you strive towards reaching those, then it's a very, very rewarding profession.
You are always the optimist. Tim, in your opinion, what is the most beautiful courthouse in the United States?
Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, Pasadena, is absolutely a fantastic courthouse. It is a joy to go in there. You want to get there particularly early just so that you can sort of hang out there and look at what a gorgeous courthouse that is. There's a bankruptcy court in San Diego also that is an old courthouse that they refurbished that is absolutely beautiful too. A little off the beaten track, tiny little courthouse, but it's gorgeous.
Tim, if you had one piece of advice to sort of impart on the next generation of young litigators, what would that advice be?
Work hard, and if you have a thought or a notion or approach in mind, stick with it, not to the point of being foolish about it, but stick with it because, practicing law is all about advancing the practice of law, coming up with new ideas to meet new circumstances. And so you always want to be pushing and pushing and pushing to come up with those new approaches.
Tim, what was your least favorite law school class and why?
I think my least favorite was actually securities. I really didn't like that class for some reason. I don't know why. I think it might have been third year spring semester and I was kind of ready to get out of law school, but I just did not enjoy that class at all.
That's great. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.